Not too long ago, we counted down the worst NFL teams of the Super Bowl era with double-digit victories. Well, it's only natural that we now do the opposite. Today, we will be counting down the best NFL teams with double-digit losses, and we will be doing that the way we always do, by using C-Score. If you're new to the channel, C-Score is a metric that we created in order to evaluate each and every team from the Super Bowl era beyond simply looking at its record. This allows teams like the ones we will see today to get the credit that they're due. For a deeper explanation of how C-Score works, be sure to check out the description of this video. We're only going to be including teams with positive C-scores, which gives us a top 11. Every single one of these teams put up exactly 10 losses, but I felt it necessary to highlight two honorable mentions with negative C-scores that still greatly outplayed their records. The first are the 2016 San Diego Chargers, their final season in San Diego, where they went 5-11 against a top 10 schedule while only being outscored by 13 points. Their C-score is negative 2.224. The other team had even more losses, but still a better C-score. A team we've talked about on the channel before, the 4-12 Atlanta Falcons from 2020. That C-score of only negative 1.53 draws most of its strength from that high-level schedule and only a negative 18 point differential. Before we start, I wanted to take a moment to thank you for joining us today. If you could take a moment to like and share this video and subscribe to the channel while dinging that notification bell, that would be very awesome of you. Let's get on with the countdown. Taking the 11th spot is a very recent squad, the 2022 New York Jets. Because of the newer 17-game schedule, they were able to grab a 7th win this season. Defense wasn't the problem here, finishing 4th best in fewest points allowed against what was tied for the league's hardest schedule. Their C-score is 0.031. The Jets stood at 5-2 after 4 games, clearing their win total from the season before in 10 fewer games. At 7-4, they were looking great to break their massive playoff drought, sitting at 12 consecutive seasons. Unfortunately for them, because they're the Jets, they lost 6 in a row where they only averaged 11 points per game. They nailed the draft though, landing both the offensive and defensive rookies of the year. Moving on to number 10, we have the 2001 Jacksonville Jaguars. Perennially snake-bit by bad luck, they put up a positive point differential despite that losing record. A top 10 scoring defense and an almost top 10 strength of schedule brings their C-score to 0.285. 2 years after their stunning 1999 season, the Jags found themselves stuck in the mud. At no point in 2001 did they ever lose just one game in a row. They had losing streaks of 5, 3, and 2. This after a 2-0 start where they only allowed 9 total points. The Jags were on the wrong side of a lot of one-score games, a Jacksonville trademark during this time, going 3-6. Yet this is a team that won 3 consecutive road games in 3 consecutive weeks. We move ahead 10 seasons to find the 2011 Miami Dolphins at number 9. Yet another team with a positive point differential led by their defense, with Miami finishing 6th in fewest points allowed. A better schedule would have helped that C-score even more, landing at 0.327. To say the least, the Dolphins got out of the gates very slowly. They started off 0-7 with 3 of those losses by 3 points or fewer, including 1 in overtime and 1 by a single point. They went 4-2 over their next 6 games, but a home loss to the Eagles, their 4th home loss of the season, precipitated the firing of head coach Tony Sparano. Their interim head coach, Todd Bowles, remains in the game today, successfully stewarding the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Coming in at number 8 are the 2010 Tennessee Titans. Everything about this team, outside of that record, screams middle of the road. and middle of the road is right where their C-score is, still in the sub-1 realm, but still positive at 0.586. This was the era of Tennessee Titans football where they always hung around the middle of the pack. Outside of a 13-win season in 2008, from 2006 to 2013, Tennessee never won more than 10 games and never won fewer than 6. Known as Mr. 7-9, Jeff Fisher couldn't quite hit that mark this year. This 6-10 season was his last with the Titans, ending a 17-year tenure, going all the way back to an interim stint in 1994 when they were still known as the Houston Oilers. Same season, different franchise that has also never won a Super Bowl. At number 7 are the 2010 Detroit Lions. They actually carry a small negative point differential, but they do carry an excellent strength of schedule, not fully indicated by that number 7 ranking. Their C-score jumps out past 1 to hit 2.02. A major factor in Detroit's tough schedule was having the 11-5 Chicago Bears and the eventual Super Bowl champion Green Bay Packers in their division. They managed a bizarre 7-3 victory over Green Bay, but were otherwise 1-4 against the rest of the North. This was the 11th consecutive season that this moribund franchise missed the playoffs, a streak they would finally break the following season. We've reached the midway point, and with it we have the 1983 Kansas City Chiefs at number 6. This team was led by its offense, scoring at the 8th best rate in the league, a departure from all the defensive teams we've seen so far. KC's score lands at 2.63. There was a lot of action that took place on the field for the Chiefs in 1983. But nothing is worth mentioning without first talking about the tragic loss of running back Joe Delaney, taken all too soon in heroic fashion. Delaney received the Presidential Citizens Medal, and no Chiefs player has ever worn his number 37 jersey since. On the field, the Chiefs hemorrhaged points, allowing 147 during a 4-game losing streak, even though they only gave up 14 points in one of those games. Back to our present decade, the 2021 Seattle Seahawks take the number 5 spot. Every ranking listed here, along with their point differential, are in the top half of the league, indicating an above-average team. That's exactly how C-Score sees them, specifically at 2.76. So why did they lose 10 games? In this, the first season with a 17-game schedule, the Seahawks lost 3 games by 3 points, 2 of those in overtime, 1 by 2 points, and 1 by a single point. 5 of their losses saw them down by a total of 6 points at the end of regulation. This was their first losing season since 2011, and to date, their only one. It's been since 2009 that Seattle has had a losing record, missed the playoffs, and had a negative C-score all in the same season. Creeping ever closer to the top spot has us at number 4 with the 1990 San Diego Chargers. A plus 34 point differential is a lot closer to 10-6 than it is to 6-10, but that's what Chargering is all about. They managed a nifty looking C-score, landing at 3.636. This was the season the Chargers brought in Bobby Beathard as the general manager, drafted a legend in Junior Seau, and saw Marion Butts set a franchise record for most rushing yards. Why did they finish 6-10? Silly rabbit, because they're the Chargers. How many one-possession games did they win? None, of course. All of their wins were by at least 10 points, including 4 by at least 3 touchdowns. The closest they got to a winning record all year was at 5-5. For the second time, we have back-to-back entries from the same season. It's the Minnesota Vikings of 1990 taking the 3rd spot. The defense wasn't as good this year, but everything else does look pretty good, including that top-level strength of schedule. Minnesota barely edges out the Chargers at 3.639. The 80s wasn't the best decade in Vikings history, but they were highly competitive toward the end of it. This downturn in 1990 wasn't to be expected, but they were really streaky. A 5-game losing streak was followed by a 5-game winning streak, only to be followed up again by a season-ending 4-game losing streak. They did add 2 future Hall of Famers though for next to nothing. Chris Carter on a waiver claim, and John Randall as an undrafted free agent. On the edge of the top spot, the 2008 Green Bay Packers sit here at number 2. They could score 5th best in the league, and they have the best point differential of any team in this countdown at plus 39. Their C-score goes up to 4.549. This season is most remembered, of course, for the change at quarterback from Brett Favre to Aaron Rodgers. Going from just missing out on the Super Bowl to 6-10 makes it seem like they collapsed, but they did no such thing. They were extremely unlucky, however, only going 1-7 in one-score games, that one win being on opening day. At 5-5, they lost 5 straight, the first in a blowout, the next 4 by a total of 14 points. But it's pretty clear that they were building something great. At number 1 is a 2-time defending Super Bowl champion, the 1999 Denver Broncos. Expecting a 3rd straight Super Bowl may have been too much, but 6-10 wasn't in the cards for too many either. Against the number 1 schedule in the league, they racked up a C-score of 5.032. It is that strength of schedule that overcomes their ever so slightly negative point differential. Sure, it was the hardest in the league, but it was also the 19th hardest of the entire Super Bowl era, the 3rd hardest of the 1990s, and by a significant margin the hardest for a defending Super Bowl champion. The lazy answer to what happened to Denver in 1999 is that John Elway retired, but we all know better than to simplify it so easily. This was still a good team, and they wouldn't have another losing record again until 2007. Taking a look at the whole list here, including our honorable mentions, we can see, as pointed out earlier, that none of the teams on this page were able to break the 1-point barrier in C-score. As we turn the page, we can also see that the only franchise to make 2 appearances here are the Chargers, but one of those was an honorable mention. That means no NFL franchise has ever suffered the fate of being a truly above-average team while still having double-digit losses hung on them more than once. But if that were ever to happen, I'd say smart money would be on the Chargers. Let me know what you think about all of this. We're in the midst of the 2025 season, and there may be some teams that could make this list. The 17-game schedule does make it easier, but no team has qualified the past 2 seasons. Who do you think could pull off the trick this year? Was there a team you were expecting to make this list? Perhaps a team you did see that you weren't expecting. Sound off on these topics or anything else you may have on your mind right down there in the comments section. Thank you once again for taking the time to join us today, and until next time, I hope you have an awesome day.